You are listening to the AHO Radio Network with Outlier host John Krotec. My name is Jason Freebird Freeman, former professional boxer and mixed martial artist, cage fighter. On this special series, John and I will be discussing 4 boxing punches that helped shape my life. The jab, the cross, the hook, and the uppercut. If used effectively, these 4 boxing punches can shape your own life. Oh, by the way, my grandfather was Charles Manson, perhaps the most notorious cult figure in American history. I'll leave it at that. But thank you for listening to my story and supporting AHO Radio.
Hey, here we are with Jason Freebird Freeman, the grandson of Charles Manson, and we're describing his 4 punches: the jab, the cross, the hook, and the uppercut, and the significance of these punches in our daily lives. And what's important to remember about all of this is that, and what I've gotten out of Jason in these conversations that we've had, is that none of us are alone. We all are dealing with things from our past that affect us on so many different levels. It affects our spirit and our hearts. It affects our brains. And all of these things affect our self-esteem, the behavior. Everything that we do in life stems from our past. And so we're with the jab, which is probably the most prolific punch. I mean, I guess you could knock somebody out with a jab. Oh, yeah. But I mean, if you catch them off guard, right? But so the jab is deciding when to fight. And on the first episode, Jason decided to fight in the 8th grade when he saw his granddad's name written on the blackboard. But something else changed. Now he's going to tell you himself, but something changed to where the fighter in him actually came out. You know, tell us about a time in your past, Jason, when that fighter came out.
When the fighter came out in me was, of course, at a earlier age than most people, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I mean, you know, it's just what we were doing as boys. But as I got into high school as a freshman, I was in a freshman homeroom, and I didn't sit down at the bell or when the bell went off. So there was a gentleman who stood up and came over to me and said, "You need to sit down." And I said, "There ain't no teacher in here yet." And then he went to push me, and I was already reacting fast off the moves that we've been working on. And all of a sudden I was behind him, and I pushed him, so we had some distance in between us. And I think it happened so fast, he was looking at the wall whenever he thought he's going to be touching me. He's already looking at the wall. So he turned around fast and said, "We're going to meet after school." And I'm going, "What's that mean? Meet for what? Coffee?" I was hoping. I didn't want to fight. That's where, as soon as class was over, I had a few guys asking me, "Well, are you going to fight that guy?" And I said, "No, there's no reason for me to fight anybody. I don't want to fight." And by the end of the day, 3:30 at the B&O was the spot, was the time, was the place to be.
So let me get this. So you're in class, Jason Freeman. You've got some skills. Your dad threw you the boxing gloves, and you'd already been goofing around in the neighborhood and all that, and learning some skill sets. And this guy comes into the homeroom, probably shouldn't even have been there. He's a senior or something, much bigger than you. Yeah. And he thinks he's just going to bully everybody. Yep. Pushes you before you know it, you're behind him. He's trying to act like Mr. Tough Guy. Yep. And calls you out and says, "We're meeting at 3:30 at the B&O after school," kind of like high noon or something, right? Yeah, right. So what are you thinking, man? What are you thinking all day long? That obviously it's traveling through the school that Jason Freeman is gonna meet this bully that everybody's scared of, right? Is that kind of okay? Yep. Cool. So I know the sheepdog in you is going to meet this guy. What happens?
Well, it was definitely an eye-opener to think that, or almost felt obligated to show up now, just see what was going to happen. And little did that guy know that I came ready. I came equipped with my internal energy that was, for me, this was legal. This was a legal way. Two men calling each other out face to face. It was game on. And I didn't let up on this guy until his eye was cut, his lips were cut from his teeth, and he's just
So you had the
all
fighter
place.
instinct. You were peppering this guy with punches,
Yeah.
and he didn't know
Jabs.
what to do
Jabs.
the whole time.
I stuck with jabs just because I'm a left-hander already, and that's my jab hand. So I fight conventional.
So that's the epitome of deciding to fight. On the first episode about you and your heart, now we're talking about your head, and you're in this fight with this guy, and you hurt him, didn't you?
Yeah. I definitely hurt this guy, but he wouldn't quit. He didn't want to quit. And
So how did the fight end, man?
I almost had to walk away. I seriously had to walk away from that fight. And I didn't know what was going to happen after that, seeing that he was as bad as he was. But nobody would get in between us. Nobody would get in between us.
Yeah.
To keep him from still coming at me, because he still.
So he wasn't very wise, was he? I mean, he kept getting hurt, and you kind of didn't have a scratch on you, did you?
No, I dropped him multiple times, and he didn't hit me.
So how did that feel, that fighter instinct, when you saw him falling down and you're like, holy cow, I really got this guy. What's going on?
Mm-hmm. Well, at first I thought, okay, well, I'm doing okay. I'm good, because I was worried. I was scared. This kid's 18 years old. And here I am, 14, 15 years old, coming in as a freshman. And the amazing thing was I got a call from the hospital. And
so his parents ran him to the hospital.
Yes.
His parents did, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. His parents took him to the hospital. I got a call from his dad from the hospital, and I'm like, it's over for me. I mean,
you're going to be in trouble.
Yeah. This guy said, what happened? I have no clue until he went to the hospital. So his father said, Jason, as my son gets stitches in his eye and in his lips, I want to thank you for putting him in his place. I didn't know what.
Surprised the hell out of you, didn't it?
Yeah.
You thought your goose was cooked.
Uh-huh.
So it sounds to me like the dad knew that his son was a bully.
Yeah. For his dad to say that he had it coming and told me thank you, I knew I was on a win streak in my eyes.
So I'm already seeing this, man. This is I can see it clearly. If I was your manager, I keep disappearing. If we keep disappearing, it's because of the gym, is making us do that. But, I see the brawling sheepdog, Jason Freeman. It sounds to me, you kind of enjoyed it because you saw that it empowered you, the sport of boxing. But you also like defending honor and the younger kids that's from this bully. Was there some of that in there in your fighting style, or just in the way you approached the concept of fighting?
The concept of the heart as a whole, that's what really determines if you should act or react or stand your ground or stand your place. Your heart will tell you. And I knew that there was a bigger purpose and there was a bigger reason behind what was going on, because I couldn't explain it. The guy didn't touch me. His dad said, thank you. So that was a growing point for them. Wasn't for me.
Maybe, think about this though. So what about that fight? Because we brought the fight up as part of your story.
Yes.
As the fighter. What was it about that fight? Okay, so you taught him a lesson.
Mm-hmm.
The dad's like, thumbs up, Jason. I'm glad you did it.
Mm-hmm.
But for you, what was the plan that you walked away with from that? And how did it really make you feel? You had to have felt pretty damn good, really.
Well, yeah, my confidence definitely went up after that fight, seeing that I was able to take out an older kid and not have a lick on me. But my true takeaway was that even as you face the fears in life, because I went in scared. I went in worried. I didn't know what was going to happen, but I still went in. I figured it out once I got in there. So if you don't face that fear, if you don't face your fears, you're never going to have that breakthrough to come to understand who you are as a person. I didn't realize I was going to become a professional boxer at all my freshman year in high school.
Wow. So that decision to fight, that jab, the symbolic meaning of that, getting up and empowering yourself to show up.
Yeah, show up.
You could have very easily not gone to the B&O at 3:30, and that epiphany moment would have been something of the past. You may have had one down the road,
yeah,
but you've outlined 2 epiphany moments in the first 2 episodes of what we're talking about, Jason, in your personal story. The epiphany moment of realizing that your name means something that you want to change, your family name.
Yes.
And that fighting at subconscious level was going to be the way out, was going to be the way for you to take your skill sets, your heart, coupled with your brain in this intense focus to use the game or the fight game as the way out. Could you say that's probably the way it went down? Or
sports carried into the fight world, and the amateur fight career was lengthy enough to have a little over 100 amateur fights. So even at that point, I still didn't know that I was going to become a professional fighter.
Well, we're going to get to that because there's a lot more to Jason's story than just the jab. You know, we've got the cross coming up, and, you know, the moments in Jason's life where he made the choice to finally deal with his past as a Manson full of heart, but also as a fighter full of vigor. And we're having conversation here on the AHO Radio Outlier Network with Jason Freebird Freeman. It's a great song, by the way. You know, now every time I hear the Skinner song, I'm going to think of you, and that's a good thing. But we're talking about the fights that have gotten him through his life, the fighting punches and what they mean. And so, you know, so any final words of advice about the jab?
We're all going to face adversity. We're all going to face valleys, but just understanding that they're seasons, and get up off the couch, get up off the canvas. No one's going to lift you up. There'll be people there to help you once you get up, but you got to first stand for yourself and decide to fight.
There you have it, right from Jason Freebird Freeman. Get up, decide to fight, you know, stick and move, use that jab, and join us on the upcoming episode where we're going to go into the cross and dealing with your past. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening to my Decide to Fight story. My name is Jason Freebird Freeman, the grandson of Charles Manson. I hope you join John and myself for another episode of Decide to Fight on AHO Radio, the place where we engage in real conversations without all the hype.